but you have 5 hours to do so. So take your time, yeah? Okay, here's the assignment this week. When is it due? Sunday. Thank you. Oh yeah, you cheat. You see this one, right? Okay, so as usual, instructions here, we will actually have a button for you to click. It will look like this. I haven't implemented that yet, but it will look like, give you an example, how you submit your assignment. So the X here means I did not submit, bad boy. Alright, so you go in here and there's a submit button. Alright, so then you submit and then it opens a box. Put the, similar to what you did with pre-work, put the URL, number of hours. The reason why we do that is that it will help us keep track of things better. In the past, we asked people to mention us on GitHub, and we don't have, it's very hard to use good data from it. Okay, so you submit, start early, but let's start doing it now. If you want to type, you want to copy down notes, it's good. I'm going to just do a live demo, all right? So let's see. Feel free to have any question along the way or even now, okay? So, okay. When you go home, you do exactly like this. I'll have some notes for you, but all right. So I'll remove this restaurant, my dear code, which I already did. Actually, I didn't really do anything. It was just an empty project. So now, has anyone used RVM? RVM? Okay. Well, to make life easier for all our friends and family, they're just different tools, but I think this is probably one of the easiest. So just go here and you just copy and paste this into your terminal. And so I already have RVM, Ruby Version Manager. It allows you to have multiple Ruby versions. For languages that develop quickly, you have new version every few months. You need this. For languages that, sometimes the SDK you don't have to upgrade and it's the same thing written in 1945, you don't have to use version manager. Funnily, Python doesn't move very fast, so you can use the same Python 2.7 and you don't need that much. But then when sometimes you work on some project, you have Python 3, Python 2, things become different. So Ruby community move really fast. You need this, right? Now Ruby Version Manager, I use 2.3 here. So if you already have it, you can get this to update it. But let's, to update this to the latest tool. Are you ready? Let's build a blog. No, it's not a blog. A restaurant website. It looks like this. It has the home page with a menu and a contact us link. And then you can filter the meals based on section. And then you have images and you can sort them, search them. You can place orders, right? So screenshots, some sample to have an idea. Please ask if you're not clear what this app does. Your app should look a lot better than this, okay? This is done in like 20 minutes, so you have 20 hours. This look like that, and you can display some images. Cool. Let's see. I'm going to use the latest 2.3.1. Cool, right? I'm going to. So, what is gem? Gem is what is it? What do you call it? What's a gem? Gem's a tool. So let's say maybe it will explain. It's a program, right? Package manager, right? To manage the libraries you need to use. And then in Ruby, you call them gems. All right, you can search for them here, and you can actually look at Rails here, right? 5.0. That's a good way. But if you work on your Ruby project, Rails project, you just copy this line and put it in your Rails gem file. So I already installed some gems a lot because I actually did this. Gem install Rails. Remember, I have the Ruby version and I installed Rails. Done? Next, what do we do? Rails new restaurant. So you can call it something like cool. We call it Coder Restaurant. And please try to set up Postgres on your computer. Okay? because you deploy it to Heroku. It's just life is easier. If you use MySQL, Postgres, later on in life, you just have to keep both. Honestly, though, unless your company asks you, you don't really need MySQL. Postgres is better in many cases. You can even do, key value document store. You can forget about MongoDB and stuff. You can use Postgres if you want. Okay? I mean, speaking from someone who used MySQL for 10 years, so I think I just did that. Restaurant, the new app, new page. What's that? What's next? What is next? Wrong. Wait for it to finish. I'm just kidding. Okay, sorry. So you're saying go into CD. Now here's the trick. If you deploy to Heroku, it actually respects this guy. So I'm going to put the Ruby version in here. Okay. So what's that? No, 2.3.1. And actually, funnily, because I use RVM also respect that. So let's say even if I say I am using Ruby 2.2 right now, 2.2 point maybe, I don't know, maybe 4, 5. So I have, okay, maybe I have some other Ruby version. Okay, Ruby 2.3.0, right? You see this? I'm at 2.2.0, right? But if when I go into this folder, it switched to 1 because it read that gem file. Nice? When you push to Heroku, also the same file. Great. Now, it's important because when you switch to gem version, when you list the gem, it's only installed for that gem. Okay? I can explain gem set, which make you have different gem set within the Ruby version, but let's not get confusing there. Okay, so I have the Rails app. I have the right version. What do? Push to Heroku? Maybe I'll just try this first. What happens when I do this? It starts the server, but does it crash? Has anyone seen this view? Oh, I think this is crazy. I don't even know what that is. But that's okay. I think my computer is that's not an error I'm expecting, but that's okay. We'd like to have some surprises. We solve the bugs together. Okay, so let's try again. 3, ta-da! Have you seen this? No, because you started your pre-work too early. This was released on Friday, right? All right, so our course is on Ruby on Rails. You're the first Ruby on Rails 5.0 class. All right, so obviously now let's start doing some work. Where do we go? The restaurant homepage, right? Please stop me if it's too fast, okay? Now, remember all this folder? All good. So I go into routes. Where? Config routes, right? And the first thing I go is let's define a place to make the home page. Sounds okay? Home controller index action. Okay, so how do I make that happen? Rails, generate, controller, home, index action. Good Lord. What happens? Oh, it doesn't like this, huh? I think my... Okay. Let's see. Skill. Oh, I think my computer is right now is freaking out. Okay, let's restart. iTerm. Hold on, sorry about that. Code is Ruby week 1. Maybe. Okay, so let's see if we can fix this problem. So Rails server. What were we doing? We have the controller. So now we go to home controller. I think I tried to generate Rails controller, but it doesn't work. So home index, right? All right. Good news. What happens here? I create a few things. So it tried to create, it's not very smart. So it's like, oh, you want home/index? Okay, I'll give you home/index. I'm like, I don't need that. That's okay. You give me this file. Nice. You give me the test. I don't really need that, but maybe later. Okay. Helper and assets. So you see CoffeeScript is a default. You can always use JavaScript instead. SCSS is a default. All right. So how do we go there? Actually, you can, if you don't know, you can go to Rails info. And so right now what happens? It shows you the routes you have. The reason you have these routes is because in your routes file, where is it? Here? Alright, it's a bit redundant. I don't need to go to home/index, right? I can go to that. Ready? So, of course, if you see root path. So root is what I want, and boom! I no longer have the Rails default page. That's cool. Let's start adding some interesting stuff. So how do we go there? I'll go on the left hand side, app, views, home, index. Okay, so welcome to restaurant. Maybe I should name it better. I'm so sorry. It's no more creativity, but we are delicious. Something like that, right? It's like, welcome, we serve human meat. We are delicious. Alright, so it looks kind of nice. And how do we make it better? CSS. Okay, well, let's get lazy and we use Bootstrap. So if you do Bootstrap, you type Bootstrap Ruby Gem. Now let's use the 4 version because there are more bugs, and so it helps us learn by fixing the bugs. So let's find the alpha version here. Go down, add this. Where do you add it? Gem files. Pretty easy. Add it to the end. Okay. Bootstrap, and then you always have to read the README file, right? But there's some instruction here. CSS. You see this? It says please import my Bootstrap in this format. Now, if I go here to asset style sheet, you see what happens here? Right? So it's a different syntax. Let's not use this guy, okay? So let's just remove this file. And so you can remove it and touch it, but basically I just say move it from asset style sheet application CSS. And I'm a bit lazy to type, so I just say just convert it to SCSS. Yeah. So if you refresh this, ta-da, SCSS. With SCSS, you don't use the syntax anymore. This is sort of the meta syntax. It's under comment, right? But Rails still understand, right? That's for pre-processing when you compile all the CSS files together. So what's our syntax? You use this instead. It's better because you can require individual files, and just you see this. They say it's better, right? Just use import, right? Because it's this one, it just compile the file when you require it. With import, you can actually get all the variables and it optimized afterwards. So Bootstrap, sounds good? Some of you run into the problem of JavaScript not work, sort of your button, sign out button not working, your delete button not working. When you do delete on a link, if it's not a form, you have to use JavaScript, right? And JavaScript is not working because there's a conflict. So here's how you update the JavaScript. JavaScript is fine. You don't need CoffeeScript. You just need the syntax. So how do I go to JavaScript file? Here. Again, there's a ton of stuff. I don't care very much. This means you don't have to put the files in. I don't like it. It just requires everything in this JavaScript folder. You can keep it there, but I don't like it. I like to know what I put in. So jQuery is already in there. Looks fine. So we just require sprockets. Require sprockets, it means in that sprockets, it requires a few smaller ones. So different way to compile. You can do that, and then it just requires the already compiled version. Okay, so I follow the instruction there, and that's a bit of a tricky thing. If you copy and paste this, sometimes your code doesn't run because this server is maintained by some other people and sometimes not reliable. And some other guy just say, hey, I just create this gem on Ruby Gems. So I actually prefer that. Someone created this gem, so I do that. So it's faster. So just load from Ruby Gems. I don't want to add another source to load my gems. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I have added that. So what to do next? I run bundle, right? Bundle, bundle install. So bundle install because you do that all the time. So you can actually just type bundle. It's the same. And of course, you know, people who are lazy like me, B is the same as bundle, then you type B instead. Right? So great. If you don't restart the server, Rails doesn't know, so it will complain, hey, Bootstrap's not there. But I restart because I already know that. So I do this. Oh, what happened? So what happens if you look at page source here, and now we have this Bootstrap files, and you see for local, it's each file. That's why you do the sprockets, right? It's easier for you to go into each of these files, button, alert, carousel. It's kind of nice. And of course, you can actually look into it. So it's like, why is my font different, right? You click here, and you realize that, oh, Bootstrap rewrite some of this, right? Like, you know, 2.1 EM. You click here, it points you to this line in your Bootstrap library. Make sense? CSS, blah blah blah, right? Okay, okay. So when I don't, things don't look right, maybe I can fix. Now, let's make it look good. You can get to this page, right? Go and then get the beta version. The first thing we need to do is to make that homepage look like that assignment. This one. You know what this the thing at the top is called? Navigation bar. Thank you very much. So it's nav bar, and being someone who's really, I tell you not to copy code, right? But as long as you do like me, I copy code and I delete everything, then it's okay. So I copy, and let's go. Where do we go? What's there? Where? Home? Index? Layout. Oh, you lazy. You just want to put it for everything, right? Okay, great. So let's put it right here. Awesome. So let's say indent it a little bit. You have to make sure things look nice, and then you do that. And when you go back to this page, perfect. We have a working website. And next, now again, for this kind of thing, it's great to copy, right? And then you delete what you don't want. So obviously these all look the same, so let's just delete them. Just have an idea of an active and a non-active guy. Next is this thing. Does anyone know what it is? The orange thing? Jumbotron. Oh, many of you are actually very pro at Bootstrap already. So this ugly thing is called Jumbotron. So let's put this ugly thing in. And how do we do that? No, what file? What file? Only on homepage, right? All right, so let's put it here. Jumbotron. And now in here is the hello world, but let's say the best restaurant ever. And in here, then of course, you know, you come here to eat. Okay, right? Okay, so something like that. You have money. So I think that looks so ugly. What to do next? Well, there's one thing that a lot of folks do, right? It's down this yellow thing, and then you just put a container thing to it, right? So I'll do that. Wrap this in a container, because people have big screen and maybe it's nice. Better, right? And then maybe you want some padding up top. That's where you need to add a little bit of CSS. Where do you put the CSS? You can put it here. Styles, margin, bottom. If you're really lazy, right? Of course, as you do it, it's hard to keep track. So where do you put it? Okay, so here's where. It's important to note the idea of application CSS is something that is for just declaring what files you use, like compiling everyone, right? You can put it in here, navbar, and then margin bottom, 20 pixel, right? But why don't we import home, which is this guy, and I go into this guy, and again, it's all weird stuff. Oh, yeah, it's here, right? So I have this, and then that works the same way. All right, I need two buttons. So let's go and do a let's look at this button. So look at the class. Button primary. Oh yeah, that's fine. Now we need to take a page to go to the menu, and one page is to go to the contact us page, right? So the lazy way is to do this, and then in here you just do contact us, and in here you do menu, right? Of course, it depends on taste, right? Sometimes actually you don't have to care so much about this roll button and everything. So another way is, that's the Rails way. It's really up to you. I don't care this one too much. So you say contact us. Sounds good. That's the name of the link. Contact us path. Yeah. And then maybe you put a class button primary, button large. So the cool thing about this code is that if you do anything wrong, Ruby will complain. If you write anything that is in HTML is wrong, HTML will be like, hey, it's okay. It's Quarks mode, right? So how about that? Yeah. So I can do the same thing, but now for menu. Why do you think this works? Convention, menu path. How can I have this? How can I have that? Let's actually make them not look like, you know, crazy blue things. So let's make them look like normal button. All right. Now let's run. If I run this, what happens? Error. What is menu path, right? So let's go. Where do we go? Config routes. You ready for? That's when you do get. Contact us. Where do you want to go? It's a convention. Convention is that the first guy here is the controller and the second guy is the action. You do the same thing, get menu, and you can do home menu. Make sense? Now, then you have to go to controller. How do you go to controller? Can you see? Okay. How do you go to controller? App, controller, home controller. All right. All right. So let's see. Index. What action do I need? Contact us and menu. Hey, it's getting together, doesn't it? Now, what happens after people go to, you know, this menu thing? You click on this. So think of the cycle, right? You go to menu, it goes to routes, right? And then routes is like, oh, controller and controller. After this menu thing, there's nothing to run. So what does it do? It finds a template. Where's the template? Down here, right? So I just create a thing called menu.html.erb, right? So this is called menu. Maybe let's put an h1 around it, and that's the menu. Now that's again convention. What is it doing? It's trying to say render file template, but Rails just already wrote that for you. If you want, you can render JSON, JSON. You can render text. You can actually say render text, nothing, right? You can even do render nothing, true. But if you do this, what happens here? Nothing. No layout, nothing, right? So these are explicit. But if you don't do it, it goes and carry forward and go into the menu. Great. Let's just implement the contact us page because that's easier to do. So contact us, HTML ERB. That's just my fast way of doing it. So let's say contact us, where we are, right? And if I save this, you see on the left hand side, that's the file. Okay, it's clear. I need the layout that look like this image. Any idea how to do that? Some of you did this before. We use something called the row thing, right? So we have like maybe row and a column 9. So there are 12 grids, right? So 3 and 4. So maybe let me. Normally, if I type with looking one screen, then you can do that. But you have to type that out, right? And then you can do like address. In here, you say, what's the H2 maybe? H3 is fine. And then there's an address block, right? So what's our address here? 55 Actually, why don't we just get it from the map? Again, copy and paste, but as long as you delete a lot of things, you copy. Yeah. Key. Where is it? Oh, okay. I think this is the one. So what's happening here? I get the address. Maybe I get this guy. It looks like an address, right? So I'll paste it in. Unfortunately, you still need to do this with Bootstrap. You have to do this for each one of them. But let's say down here, now you can have the address. Here's the cool part. Why don't we put this map in, right? So maybe it's under share, embed map, and get this guy and put it in here. Okay, so if I go back here, that's the menu. But what if I go down here and go to awesome, it looks like we have a restaurant page. You know, we can start running the business. Maybe I put a phone number here, and then people will call me to complain how ugly the website is. So, okay, maybe that's cool on Contact Us. Let's make this menu work, right? So that's when, how do you go back to the menu? Is application. Again, this bar become silly again. It looks a little crazy, right? You have like this native item, no, nav item, active. Well, that's the home. Where do I go for home? So that if you want to keep the HTML way, then you have to use the ERB way of putting this, right? This is called root path. That's it. That's how you go to home. Of course, you can also do link to root path, right? So here, let me do that. Instead of this nav link thing, let's do link to menu, maybe. And then down here is like same. I kind of want the link there so that it's, does it seem enough? I need a class nav link, right? Make sense? We need to set a timer. Okay, we can do 2 more 10 minutes. So if I do this now, I have this link. So maybe let's make it nice and copy this and do it one more time for Contact Us. Path. Uh-oh. Contact Us path. I think that looks fine. Yeah, so would you do this here? You click yes, it go here. Click this, it go here. Yeah. Maybe you want this to be a little bit better. You see this active thing? So technically you can actually do, how do you do that? Like how, maybe I have this Ruby string in here. I say active if current page is menu path. Does it read like English? When that happens, and you know, it will put active in here, you have an extra class. But if it's not an active current page, then nothing. Then you just have an empty string, which is fine. So I do the same thing here. You see, no. You're copying the code. So as you get better, you should not duplicate the code. But here it's okay. It's very clear. The logic is clear. I like what it's doing. So maybe I do the same thing here, but not menu path, right? This is root path. In here, it is what? Menu path, that's correct. In here, that is Contact Us path. You can see you can write the same function, right, for those 3. But it's okay, we're not learning that today. So, we're becoming more professional. So, well, the good thing is the menu. So let's try to fill out the user stories. All right. User must be able to go to 2 pages, right? Now, at home you have to do this. Please do this. Go click on this README file. This guy, right? Get the raw version. All right. Copy it. Create a new file called README dot what? Markdown. MD. And oh wow, Rails 5 actually uses MD by default. Oh my god. So exciting. So now, because they used to use .rdoc and I have to tell everyone to remove the rdoc. Okay, great. You see, I just have the MD file now. Save it. Now let's check it. User must be able to go to 2 pages. Great, right? User must see addresses and phone number. Okay, pretend I put the phone number in there. And then what else? User can see a big, yeah. Wow. We are very far, halfway there already. Navigate to menu page with 4 sections. Okay, let's just try this. Okay, but before we do all of that, let's just not risk doing stupid stuff and then forget everything that we did. So git status, I didn't even create a git repo. Bad. Normally you're like first commit is when you create a Rails app. It's always easy to reset. All right, create an empty git repo. You can name it git commit. This is short for git commit, right? But I add everything. So I'm just calling it maybe basic homepage and contact us page. To be a better programmer, please also try to write better commit messages, right? Don't just say one more try, this is it, like I hate you, right? It's like that's just okay. I didn't add anything, so let's do that one more time. Done, right? So now we have one commit here. Git log give us this, and now let's start building cool stuff, which is the menu with 4 sections: breakfast, lunch, dinner. So when you see section, you can be lazy and define it in maybe just for an array of 4 things. So how about, okay, let's try and find some model we can do. I have a 4 section of food, okay, and then I have like 5 food items in each section. Okay, so what model do we need, guys? What model? What model? To display stuff for the menu, right? What model we need? Food item? Sounds good? So Rails generate model food item. Now you can call it food item or food item that way. Rails just does it for you. It doesn't matter. So what is the sum of the columns? Let's read the file again. So it's saying each food item should have the following fields: name, description, price. Okay, so maybe I'll just do that. I can cheat. I can read that here, right? So name, which is string by default, so you can do string, but you don't need to. Description, that's text, so then you have to specify. What else? Price. I think you can do decimal. What else? Section. Now, if you want to have many section of your choices like dessert, breakfast, supper, everything, then you create a section model. But this basic version, maybe I can do that later, right? It's too many models to keep track of. So I'm going to be lazy and make it a string, right? So okay, I call it a section, which is a string. What else? Section is a string. Image URL, yeah? So maybe I call it remote image URL because I think that, oh, I paste in an image and it's remote, so you can call it image URL. So it's a string. Yeah? Sounds good? If I do this, obviously if you want, if we do model, we have to do a lot of work, so yeah? No, I mean, up to you. I never use scaffold in my real work because I just do generate model, or sometimes you do resource, which is the model and a bit of something else. But in this case, I just want a good way to create fake data, right? Rails generate food item. Okay, so what is the next thing to do? What? What? Rect DB migrate? Wrong. What? Yeah, DB create, but there's no longer rect. Rails DB migrate. So in Rails 5, there's no, everything is Rails. Okay, so you're right, you can do that. We haven't even created the database. We also can actually run the 2 things together. It's even faster because it boot up the, it just say, hey Rails, run this and then run that, right? You don't run and then close and then run and close, right? Well, it used to be the case. Now, because of Spring, it's, all right, so it doesn't matter if you run them separately. It's only a second slower. All right, look at that. I create, normally it always creates the test database as well, and I have that. Great. Let's run. Right? Obviously, if you run it now, one cool way to do is you actually check this info thing. It's like, what? You have a lot more because you just did the scaffold, and by then you have food items, right? Where's my food items? Where is it, guys? Where is it? Model and here, right? Let's look at this thing. Okay, this view. Well, if you knowing Bootstrap will make you more comfortable, faster. So technically, you can know like, oh, okay, if you do it this maybe table striped, you know, you can do right. You can even do maybe t head default. What else? Some rows, and you can make some row active and whatnot. But look, damn, it looks a little bit better, right? So obviously, new food item. Usually you don't like link very much, so then obviously you can do that. So this no longer default, it's secondary, right? If you use Bootstrap 3. Uh-oh. What happens? Alright, it's just the wrong string. So, great, right? And again, let's just spend a second and make this form better. What's happening here? It goes to new, and then it renders a partial. Who here knows what a partial is? No? So render here, it doesn't say it, but it's actually, Rails again, it's actually like that. Partial, but it just take it out and you can use it the long way or the short way. And it's saying form, a partial, then it's just referring to a different template file. You have to, and that file should not be used by itself. Therefore, you see the underscore in front of it. So just like private variables, right? So form, food item, you're just passing, what is this guy? What is this food item? Instance variable, right? When you see this, it's an instant variable, but where is it from? In the controller, what action is this? New, right? In the controller, you create a food item. In the view, you can use it, right? But in your partial, you can also use it. But it's considered better practice to pass in the variable. It's like a local variable. You only use those guys. So that way it's more reliable. You can use the partial somewhere else, and you don't rely on this. This is like global variable right now, right? I'm passing in, hey, use this partial, but use this food item. And this is the value. Make sense? All right. So here's the form. Obviously, Rails doesn't generate the form in the way that, see, I forgot the time and a lot of people are falling asleep. But does anyone know how to make the form look better? So I'll just show you a little bit. So in here, you can call it, instead of field, call it form group, right? And it's a little bit weird, but yeah, so from group label, from control label, I think. And then here is form control. Let's see. Yeah? Whoa. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh yeah, man, your eyes, amazing. You see this one? Looks good. And you can do the same thing. Obviously, it seems like, you can actually create a partial, do that. You can create a helper method. But again, sometimes it's better to be clear than be clever, right? So in this case, I feel like description, text field, okay. So maybe I copy and paste. Yeah, so, you just fill it yourself in there. I don't know what's the best way to do that. Maybe I just do this here. And then I change this name to description. And change that again. But this now has to be text area. Blah, blah, right? So that's the description. I already did this one. Anyway. All right, let's create something. Furball, right? And this is 10,000. Maybe 10,000. No, how much is furball? 50,000. Create it. Sounds good? Now, who here knows about validation? A little bit, right? You tried in your homework. So if you create now, you always create. And then if you have nothing in these places, it still does it. So why don't we make it a little bit better? In this guy, we say validates validates what? Name, presence, maybe something else. Maybe name, you need name and section. And you say presence. Whoops. So again, when you write this, it's Ruby code, right? It's a little funny. It's a little magic from Rails, but this one is the class method that somehow take these arguments, right? And then this argument is a symbol and a hash. Okay? So when you do this, if you do this again and say and right, just say this is bad, this is wrong, except you need to make it look better. So maybe let's say football, and price is 50,000. I think it's good, right? Breakfast. Yeah. Maybe I need price, huh? You can even do validates price, numericality, make sure it's a number. So check out a lot of validation stuff. So if I do that, it's created, right? And if I go to food items, I see it here. A section is breakfast. Okay, so what's missing? Maybe the image? So actually, I'm going to take a look at this. Where is that guy? Here. It says this. Do a Google search or use this guy. Oh, okay. So it looks like I can use a string, and then if I say here, I say football. What do you think will happen? Okay, that's maybe, yeah. So I think my restaurant will run out of business if I have this kind of picture. But food item here, let's say fake image URL, auto image URL. Okay, so maybe I just say image URL, right? If I give it an image URL, right? You say if there's a value, so you say if this one is present, then you use image URL. Does it make sense? If not, let's use that football thing. Yeah? But maybe because I have a name, so I just put a name here. Yeah? Technically, when you have the name with the two words, so you can't really do this. So maybe you say replace other that with what? I don't know how to replace it, so maybe I try football. A G sub. Is there a replace function? Oh, so maybe you replace that with that. Oh, I don't know. So maybe G sub that with that. See? So I can do that. Or you can even use the, I think it's like CGI.escape name. That's good for anything. So to prove to you that it works, and to prove to you Rails is nice, go to Rails console. Right? What is it? Food item? Good, right? So food item, you have the first element. Yeah? So now I forgot to assign it, so I assign it to A. And say a.image URL. You see that? It's cool. You can test it right there. So don't put this code in your controller. It's hard to test. So because I have that, maybe I can display this image over here. How do I do that? I go to the index, food items in index, right? Index view here. Oops. Under this, I have remote URLs. Instead of remote URL, it means you can customize your own URL if you want. If not, I will be automatic, right? Image tag. But now I just need that. Sounds good? And maybe. Do you think it will show up? Yeah, it's a much better football, right? Maybe this is for trứng and it's different. All right, so now we need our menu to be sexy, and that this has to come up, right? Yeah. So how do we do that? I am running out of time, so let's try to erase. So let's say this doesn't really belong anywhere, so maybe I can create a fake model. I can also do this. Go to model, do section.rb. Just It's just a random, it's just a class. You don't even need it to be a model. It's just a class. But maybe I can do like maybe all the section is breakfast. Later you can change this, right? Lunch. And again, you can type this, or in Ruby, after a while you just become lazy and you do that. Dinner. Okay, and what else? I think it's a supper or something like that. Okay, so it convert that into string, and then in menu here, so it's a food item index, no, not food item, home. What's that? Home menu, right? Here's where we display. How do we display, guys? Ruby code. Section.all. In order to make that work, you have to do self dot, make it a class method. Make sense? Of course, you can always test it here. Reload section.all. Beautiful, right? So section.all.each. In each of these, I have a section. It's time to copy some code again. What do I need? Button group. What does it look like? It looks like this, right? So copy and paste. So it looks like button group, but then I don't need any of this. I just change this into section. I haven't set up. Okay, so section is a variable. Are we clear on that? So now on this page over here, you see this. Beautiful, right? So if you click here, what happens? It has to send me somewhere. So actually this button thing is not what I want. Actually I want to say link to section. Again, it's very similar code, but you see how using Rails code is a little bit easier to read. Link to section, whoops. Maybe I still go to menu path, but I pass in an argument, section. Does it make sense? Link to section. Now I don't need this guy up here anymore. That's it. It's an A element, so I do that. And I click here. You see section breakfast? Okay, so let's go to the controller. Food items. Obviously, you want to display them all, right? Food items is food item dot all. But now, if what params section, then what happened? You actually want these food items to be maybe, so let's do that. Maybe where section is the same as param section. Else, you just put this guy over here, alright? Just keep it simple. Sounds fine? But now we need to display the food items because we already load them, right? Food items dot each do item. So okay, let's just spell out. So maybe I can do like, maybe this is, you can do I think down here you have Bootstrap give you a lot of type. Maybe drop down input group. No, drop down something that's like a list group, right? It looks like that. Copy. Now sometimes you find that it's hard to use li and ul. So you can just use div. That's fine. So I can just use div list group. This one's around that, right? And in here I have another div which is just list group item. And what's the text in it, guys? Food item dot name everything, right? So technically you can actually put a cart in there, and in this cart you can have that, maybe this is cart header or title, right? And then of course in here then you can put food item dot, so technically you don't need list group. Okay, so name, and then down here maybe cart block, and you put an image in there. Yeah, so image tag food item dot image URL. Make sense? So yeah, there's no need for that. Sorry, it's a little dark. Okay, so sounds like I have a card for each guy. Wait, is that an extra there? Okay. Let's refresh. And for ball, if I go to lunch, I see nothing, right? But if you go back to breakfast, you see it. That should be a, if you click home menu, it will show everyone, right? And the way to test this now is to go back to your cheat page. Obviously, your customer is not seeing this. This is like your admin page. You can put a password to it. And now you can do a lot more, right? I sell cucumber. Oh, I hope this is not going to come up ugly. So maybe what does it say? This is dinner, lunch. So same thing, right? It will come up with some images, and then you go. Now that was lunch. This is menu. Show everything. Breakfast. Show this that. And you have to wait a little bit because the image is stupid, right? You can actually you can save it to your file system. It's really up to you. Lunch, and then that's cucumber. All right, we're running out of time. Thanks for staying. I hope that was not too slow. So next week, we will spend some time discussing, get to know each other. This week, some of you will not be here next week, so it's okay. We can just listen to me talking. Any questions? When should we start on the homework? Tonight. When should we read Ruby programming guide? Okay, when you have a lot of food and you need to go. Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. Get to know you by names next week on Wednesday. Wednesday, come bring your laptop, install RVM, make sure you have Rails 5, make sure you have done that, please. If you come here and you set up PostgreSQL, Rails 5, I'm going to be very sad. Yeah. It will be fun. And the lab, I need to update it. Oh, okay.